Alright guys, welcome back to Playing the Game podcast. This is Chris Mendoza.
You almost forgot her name. And
no,
Melanie Smotty.
So stupid. Good morning.
Good morning, it is 9 a.m.
Yes.
Just got our
started.
So we're just gonna have a little chitty chatty with y'all.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about our routines and what we do like during the day.
Yeah, my mornings are much slower, so I guess I slow them down once I'm awake. But I like to drink my coffee and either talk or read or something like that, because I just find that I'm not mentally prepared quite yet to get into work, and and I don't look at my phone. I probably don't look at my phone for like the first hour or two after I wake up, just because like I try to set a good tone for the day, and obviously looking at our phones can be distracting, so I just try not to do that, and this fool over here does the complete opposite.
I'm all up in that shit. From the second I wake up.
I was about to say, I look over and he's always scrolling first thing in the morning.
No, this is what it is though. I have this theory that the blue light from the screen
I know you do.
wakes me up because it does something to my brain where it makes it think like it's catching some sunlight, you know? Maybe not even sunlight, but the artificial light just like fries my brain and my eyeballs and just forces me to
Sounds like a non-pleasant way to wake up. Yeah, I do think that that's actually true, because I mean, of course, like when we try to wind down for bed, the blue light is what keeps us from going to sleep or messes up our, production of melatonin and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can see how that is helpful to wake you up, but I think that there might be better ways.
Yeah, well, another thing that I've thought about doing is just like immediately getting up out of bed as soon as my alarm goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even like opening up my phone and looking at it.
Yeah.
But every time I think about doing that, I don't do it.
It's because you're in that habitual pattern.
Yeah, you're right, I know.
Just naturally you grab it and start looking at it. So
Yeah.
you gotta do a pattern interrupt.
Yeah, just gotta do a pattern in a row.
Good theory. Let's see how it works. JK,
Yeah,
LOL.
we'll try it. Maybe I should change my ringtone for my alarm to some like countdown or something.
You could. And then I'll be like, what is going on? Is there a bomb in here? Yeah, so that's, anyways, and it's funny because, like, whenever I used to work at my regular job, I would get up immediately when my alarm went off, because I pretty much gave myself just enough time to get ready. So, because I used to wake up at like 4:40 in the morning, and I didn't want to wake up any earlier, so, like, I knew at 4:40, like, I needed to be up, like, now and getting ready. But now it's like, if I wanted to, I probably could sleep in a little bit later, which is kind of a dangerous little thing, but most of the time I give myself like an hour and a half before I need to get anywhere. When you kind of give yourself a little bit longer of a morning routine, it allows you to snooze if you needed to, but
Yeah.
anyways, nothing wrong with snoozing, I guess.
No, I mean, I was doing it for a while. Probably the first week or two, after I left my job, I was sleeping in until like 8, 9, and then once it started getting to like, I wasn't getting out of bed till like 10 o'clock, I was like, alright, I gotta fucking stop this.
Yeah, because then the day goes by so fast.
Yeah, dude. And plus, it's nice having like just a little me time in the morning, where just like completely by myself. I can pick my nose and scratch my butt.
He still does that even when I'm there.
I can smoke all the weed I want.
Smoke weed every day.
And not be judged.
Oh, okay, I don't judge. No judgment. Hashtag.
But no, yeah, that mindset, like that, I have that ability to like flip that switch, you know, like if I start slacking or whatever, and like I think where that comes from, it's like that athlete thing. I mean, like I used to wake up early and like work out and do all this shit that I didn't want to do. It's just like this discipline that you start to get like after doing
Yeah.
a bunch of shit that is not
Not
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
easy.
like waking up at 4 a.m. to go, like in Vail, when I used to live in Vail, I was working 2 jobs and literally like 16-hour days, back-to-back shifts every day. And I would still get up at 5 a.m. and walk to the gym and then work out and then go to my first job, then go to my second job. And I did that, and like that was the most tired I'd ever been. And so like even now, like I know this ain't shit. Like waking up at 6 is so easy, dude.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about doing hard things is that it becomes like you have this knowing that you can do hard things. So like for me, I sometimes think, you know, I was considering for a little bit maybe doing like a bikini competition or something, like competing in bodybuilding, and I was like, man, I don't even know if I could. If I have that kind of that level of discipline that it takes to get to that low of a body fat and get that lean, and like, because I've never done something like that before, so I don't have that knowing of like, yeah, that ain't nothing, I can do that. So like that's why I like to challenge myself to different levels of difficulty, because then you get that like satisfaction of knowing like, okay, I can do that hard thing, therefore I can do these other hard things.
Well, that's the great thing about, like, for me it was training, like grappling, kickboxing, like any kind of martial arts. It teaches you that self-discipline, and like it shows you, you know, if you have a good training session, like you'll get pushed to your absolute limit. And then, you know, that's, once you know where that is, like, you know, if you can push beyond that or not. And usually 9 out of 10 times, like, if, you know, you can, you know, if you're in the right headspace.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is so mental, which I think I've heard that before, and it's hard to sometimes think that our own minds can prevent us from doing things, because when we're doing something that's really physically challenging and you think about the fact that it's really just a mental game, it's hard to like be like, okay, yeah, I can actually push my body further, because your body does feel so fatigued. It feels like it's impossible, but it's really like your mind keeping you back.
Yeah.
I notice that a lot when I like work out and stuff. Is like sometimes I feel like I couldn't do another rep, and if there's someone there to like tell me to keep going, like I have no choice, then I could actually like do 2 more reps, and I'm like, dang, I thought like my body was done.
Right.
And here, so it is a big mental game.
Yeah, I mean, that's proof on a small scale of like the whole mind over matter thing. Like, you know, you scale that up to a bigger size. Let's say creating, I don't know.
Lost it. I don't know where I was going with that. No, I think it comes down to like literally anything that you want to do that you think that you can't do.
Yeah.
And that is like a story that you're telling yourself that you can't do it.
That's what I meant. Yeah. That's exactly what I was gonna say. No, but no, seriously, that's where I was gonna go. Is like you can do something as small as like getting an extra rep in the gym to getting a job that you always wanted, or like doing something that you always wanted to do that you never thought you could do. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this belief in yourself is really interesting to me, because we believe certain things about what we can do based on our experiences that we've had in the past. So if you've only had experiences where you failed at a lot of things and you weren't very like good at certain things, and you might feel that you're not able to do other things because you've already formed that belief based on your experience, and it really takes you to like continue to fail over and over again and continue trying to actually eventually reach a point where it's like something will work out.
Yeah.
And then it'll click like, oh, I can do that.
Right. Well, because we tell ourselves these like stories about what we can and can't do, and we don't realize that like the power of the mind is so strong. Like whatever you tell yourself, it's gonna be real. It's gonna be true to you. One thing that helped me a lot with letting go of that shit was like when I hurt my knee and I got into like Ram Dass and Alan Watts and all these like spiritual guys who taught me how to stop identifying with the version of yourself that like has already happened in the past, or something that you already did. Like I used to always tell myself and everyone around, like all my friends, that like I was a shy, timid guy, like I'm quiet and shy, and then like sure enough, that's what I was, because I kept telling myself that and telling everyone else that, and you know, it would just prevent me from like being social in like certain situations and like just keeping to myself. And it wasn't until I like let go of all of my like personal history that I was able to like just be what I wanted to be in that moment, you know?
Yeah, I think this is a super, super cool topic because I think we're in an age where everybody's interested in personality tests and figuring out what kind of personality type there is. And I think that this is really good, but also having the awareness around the fact that that's not your box. So you can take a personality test and you can identify it very deep, like on a deep level, be like, that's exactly me. That's the kind of person I am,
Right.
which is really helpful to know because it helps us understand ourselves better, but also have the awareness that that's not all that you are.
Right.
It's not that you can't be those other things. It's just like knowing that, especially if this helps you like understand better about the way that you work, the way you are in relationships, the way that you are in your family life, like getting an understanding of how you interact with the world through your natural state. I think that's helpful to know, but then also knowing that it can be different if you want it to
Right.
be.
Don't limit yourself to that
Right.
one thing. Like Ram Dass always talks about this. He has this like little way of explaining it. Where he's like, everyone goes around thinking that they're somebody. Like, you know, you'll have a businessman walking around thinking, "Oh, I'm a businessman," and everything he sees around him has to do with money and business and how he's gonna get one over on the next guy. And then you got other people walking around that identify as like a hippie, you know, and they're walking around like giving their free love and peace to everyone. But like he says, like once they identify with being that one thing, like they've separated themselves from everyone else. And not only that, they've like put a limitation on themselves where they can no longer they can't do anything outside of that role or outside of that like little model that they just created for themselves. So he talks about like instead of wanting to be somebody and holding on to this like somebodiness that everyone is so desperately to have, to try being nobody. And like you can, when you're nobody, you can be anyone. And like I know that just went over some of y'all's heads, but
No, that makes
if you
sense.
think, like if you
Think
understand
Game
it,
of Thrones. If you've seen Game of Thrones, you know exactly.
yes, I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about. But yeah, and so it's like this beautiful thing where like you're no longer trapped to this one thing that like you might think that you are. You know, like I can be a businessman, I can be a hippie, I can be a whatever, I can be anything and anyone because I'm no longer identifying with one version of myself.
Yeah, I think whenever I was starting to get more into like a plant-based diet, this was something that I noticed very quickly is that even around diets, people have this connection or like this identification with, oh, I'm paleo, I'm keto, I'm vegetarian, I'm vegan, and that becomes like part of their identity, which can be dangerous, especially when those types of ways of eating start not serving you. And it becomes like, I've seen a lot of like vegan people that end up having health issues and then they have to transition out of it, and it's super hard for them because they've identified with the community and they've held certain beliefs about themselves based on the fact that they are vegan, and now that they have to transition out of it, it becomes like a very, you know, grappling inner freaking battle, struggle, whatever.
Right.
And just there's some danger there. So like whenever I was starting to get into it, I was like, okay, people would ask me like, oh, are you vegetarian? Oh, are you vegan? I'm like, no, like I'm not, I don't want to identify with any of those things. I just try to eat more plant-based, even though I don't eat meat. I only eat fish. But so technically like I'm pescatarian, but I don't ever really say that. I just say, yeah, I just try not to eat meat and I eat fish sometimes. So I try not to identify too heavily with anything because it can be a little bit dangerous. And as far as like not, you were saying something else. Ah, frick. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Okay. Whenever I was transitioning from, I don't know why I sound nervous all of a sudden. Do I? I feel like I have this nervous thing in my voice.
Take a deep
Okay.
breath.
Yeah, chill. Okay, so when I was transitioning from my engineering job into coaching, I had this like weird belief that it was going to be like a little hard for me because socially I've been a bit more of an introvert, and so I kind of told myself that, and I knew that like coaching was going to be a lot of interacting with people and a lot of like just socializing and going deep and connecting with others, which I've been really good at, like the empathetic aspect of that, and that's how I was like drawn to coaching, because I'm just naturally empathetic. And I was just worried about like being able to push myself to talk to people, because socially I just am a little bit scaredy. But but I mean, the more that like the less I tried to tell myself that I was an introvert, the easier it became to just allow myself to be. And I think my comfort with coaching, like being able to help people, that helped me naturally be able to talk, because I knew that like I was coming from this loving place, and I was able to talk to people very flowy, because there wasn't so much pressure around the situation. It's like just two people having a conversation.
Right.
And being able to connect with someone like on just like a human level, because I definitely believe in like this collective consciousness where we all have the same kinds of experiences and we all feel the same things, and we're all just like wanting love when it comes down to it. So like to be able to just see that in another person and connect with them on that level, and just be your whole self, and just see them for who they are, and not have any kind of like pressures around, oh, I'm supposed to be in this coaching role, I'm supposed to be like seeming like I know more than this person and telling them what to do. Like that's not really what I feel is coaching is about. It's about like really connecting with someone, you know, for who they are, and being able to just chat with them and help them the best way you know how. And I feel like that just kind of went somewhere else, but I don't know.
It's a good segue into what I want to like talk about now is how like, well, it's pretty much the same thing, but I even up until like a few months ago, you know, I would tell myself that I had like social anxiety, and like you know, when I started doing this music thing, I found out a lot about producers and like what their job entails, you know, and a lot of it is networking and talking to people, like meeting new people. And you know, when I found that out, I was like, for a split second I was like, oh, I can't do this. I was like, I'm not that guy, you know. And then I remembered like the practices, like don't limit yourself like that. Like you can be that guy if you want to, you know. And so I stopped like telling myself I had this social anxiety. And, you know, it would still come up, like, when I was around people or, like, new people. But, you know, one thing that really helped me was when I stopped seeing other people as, like, strangers. Or, because the whole reason, like, I traced it down, and with, like, psychology and stuff, I traced it down to, it's the fact that I get nervous around, or I used to get nervous around people, because I would always assume that they were judging me in some negative way, and that I wasn't like good enough to talk to them or something. Like I used to have this speech impediment when I was younger, so that kind of plays a role in like me being comfortable talking to people. I stopped doing that, and I started just seeing them as like an old friend, like
say
like
what
talking
you really
to
want
them.
to say.
Okay, yeah. Well, like Ram Dass says, like you talk, like try seeing everybody as you would like as God in drag, meaning like it's God in like human form, in that form of whoever they're being, that person. Yeah. But because that word is so like overused and has a weird thing attached to it. Another thing he says is like talk to people as you would like an old friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and just be nice to everyone, and stop seeing them as this separate individual who's judging you, and instead see them as like, you can see them as like a version of yourself, just living another life, or like I said, like an old friend you haven't seen in a while. And when you do that, like that whole perception of being judged goes away, and like all of a sudden there's no like nervousness anymore, and like that anxiety that I used to label like social anxiety, we just went out the window, and like all of a sudden I was just talking to another person, another like person just like me, another being.
Right.
And so that helped a lot, you know, with getting over this idea that like I'm not good at talking to people.
I think this is a really good tool to use too for speeches. if you're someone that has to get up in front of people and do a presentation or some sort of speech, because I noticed that for myself is that would be the exact reason why I felt so much anxiety, because I felt that the people that were watching were either bored or they were judging me or they thought that I was saying something wrong. Basically, I was just perceiving them as thinking negatively about something that I was doing, but in reality, that's something I created in my own head, and most of the time, people are just there to support you, and like, they are happy to be watching you and listening to you and all this stuff. So if you just look at everyone in the audience and you think, okay, these people just, you know, they're here to support me, they love me, they're enjoying what I'm saying, it honestly like shifts the whole thing 180.
Right.
And even though you might be nervous in the beginning, I think even people who perform on big stages, like they still get nervous, you know, before they do it. But once you get into the flow of it, I think that it becomes like the anxiety and the nerves just kind of like fade away, especially if you're talking about something that you are comfortable with and that you're confident in. Oh, Meiji, you make an appearance.
Again.
Always, this little otter head.
Okay, sir. You're interrupting. You're interrupting right now.
I think that that's something that helps definitely with social anxiety, and also just with other aspects. If you have a job that you need to do presentations or something, that can help a lot. And I definitely agree that I used to think that I had social anxiety too. Like when I would go to ACL or something, and just be in a crowd of people, and I would just feel like claustrophobic and feel like I couldn't breathe. And I feel that, although to an extent, I think that there is a biochemical thing happening there, but also part of it is kind of in your head, with anxiety and stuff. And I think, because I do have anxiety from time to time, and it's basically like, for me, it feels like just this tightness in your chest, and it's like, it just feels like a ball of energy right there. And I think when I really sit and meditate, if I feel anxiety and I just sit down and meditate and try and like focus on my breath and just not be so in my head, it helps a lot with clearing it. So to me, I realized after that okay, this is something that it's like, I'm creating this anxiety within myself, and the mindfulness practices is what really helps bring myself down from that. So mindfulness is cool.
Yeah, it's like salt and pepper. Like it's good on everything. Like you can put it on anything, apply it to everything.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea of limiting yourself to one thing, or like being somebody. Like just try it out. You know, just try being nobody. Like it's okay. Everyone has this idea that like, oh, I'm gonna be somebody one day. Like people forget, like you already are like somebody. Like you don't have to strive to be somebody. Like, you know, most people that say that, what they really mean is, I'm gonna be somebody who's worthy enough one day. Like,
which is implying that you aren't worthy right now.
Right.
And the same implication comes with happiness.
Yeah.
And I do this too, and it's really hard to like bring yourself back down to being happy with where you are now versus thinking that whatever you're striving for is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you touched on this in the last episode, but pretty much like, I think that we're all delaying our happiness, especially with the way that I was raised. I was raised to get a job, save up for retirement, and then once you retire, then you can do whatever you want, and that's when you like really live out your life dream. You know, and I very quickly, through all my personal development research and stuff, I was like, why? Like, what is it? What is that? Why do I think that that's the way? Like, why can't I live my best life right now? Like, there's no guarantee of 50 years from now that I'm even gonna be alive. There's no guarantee I'm gonna be alive tomorrow. So it's like, why am I spending all this time putting off my happiness and just be happy now? And that comes down to like two things. Number one, not thinking that my happiness is tied to what I'm doing. So like my job or my living situation, trying not to connect my happiness so much to those things, but also being happy just with where I'm at, even when I don't like where I'm at. because that was something that was super hard for me in my old job, is that I felt like I couldn't be happy until I had moved back to Austin and I was doing coaching and pursuing something that I really love, and I wasn't able to bring myself to be happy just doing the job that I knew deep down I didn't want to do. And I felt like it would be doing me a disservice if I would allow myself
Sorry.
if I would allow myself to be content, because it was that discomfort that I was putting on myself that made me continue to be like, okay, I need to leave this job. You know what I mean? It kind of like allowed me to have some urgency about the fact that I'm not where I want to be right now. And I need to get out of this. So like I was kind of, I don't know, I was at like a catch-22. It's like, I know I need to be happy, but if I am trying to be happy, then will I still want to?
It's that whole idea that like you're already perfect exactly how you are, but you can also be better. So like it doesn't mean like, cause I had that thing, that struggle too for a while. Like when I was training, that's all my life was. Like my life was nothing but martial arts training. Like I would wake up, you know, I'd go work out, I'd go to work, I'd come home from work and go to the gym again. And like that was just this cyclical thing for like 2 years. And then like when I got hurt and I was forced to stop, I asked myself, I was like, you know, like what am I really chasing after, you know? And I would tell myself like I want to be the best grappler in the world, and like I want to win I want to train for a living, I want to compete for a living. But what it really was like I wanted, what's the word? Approval. I wanted like recognition. I wanted like fame. I wanted to be noticed as like I wanted the glory that came with all of that. I didn't want all of that for the love of it.
Right. It was like an ego.
It was an ego thing, exactly. Which was hard to explain to like all of my jiu-jitsu friends and like my coach and stuff, is like, you know, because I fell off. I quit training for a while, and I just wasn't doing anything. You know, I wasn't even making music. I was focused so much on like just being in the now. Like I read this quote that really like fucked me up, and it was like, you should take a moment to pause from your pursuit of happiness to just be happy. And you know, when I thought, I was like, oh, I don't need to be chasing this thing, like it's already there. And then when I realized that, like there was no drive for me to want to keep going, because what I really wanted, like I knew that I found out I already had it, you know. And so because the drive was like, it was driven by ego and like a reason that wasn't pure, I let it go. And like, you know, I went over to pursuing music, which was something that, you know, I was doing just for the love of it. And I wasn't trying to like do it for attention or to be noticed or anything like that. It was an act of like pure like passion. I just took a look at my life and I was like, okay, what am I really going after? Like, what do I really want? And then like, you know, I think that I got that idea from Alan Watts. It's like the backwards law, where like the thing that you want, like you're never gonna get, because when you're constantly being the seeker of that, like, oh, I'm trying to be this, I'm trying to be that, you're never gonna be that, because you're identifying as the seeker. Like people say, I just want to be happy, I'm searching for happiness. You know, they're always gonna be the person that's trying to be happy and searching for happiness, because that, in saying that, they're saying that they don't have that, like they're lacking it currently, you know. And that's a hard thing to fucking understand.
Yeah, dude, this whole concept of happiness is such a mind f, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because, and it's a very common just phrase that we all kind of throw out. Like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy in my job. I want to be happy in my relationship.
Yeah.
And it just, by saying that, it's creating this, like, gap already, you know, between allowing yourself to be happy now versus putting it off.
We were getting to a discipline and how it you can lose your drive. Sorry.
Continue.
But yeah, I was just gonna like add to that even though you know it's not like this thing that you want isn't gonna make you happy, like still do it as if it was, like pretend like it really matters, and pretend like go all the way with it, kind of thing. Like don't like be content and stop striving to be better. You know what I mean? Like you could just be happy with working whatever job you have and living wherever you're currently at now, and like you can live the rest of your life like that and be happy. But also, like, why not try to get like a better job and earn more money and like travel more and get a bigger house and like get a yard for your dog?
Yeah.
You know, like why not enjoy that stuff as well? Like because you could do it. There's nothing wrong with it, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I think the pursuit of like more is so different for a lot of people, but I think that sometimes, and maybe this is my own projection, honestly, but like sometimes when I look at people who I feel are judging someone like myself that is constantly pursuing to be better and to learn and get better in my job and literally in every aspect of my life, sometimes I think that people look at that and think, oh, she's not happy, she's not content, she's very like, she's depressed,
Right.
And I've had that, like, even my sister actually said that to me one time, and it like really, honestly, like it made me really upset because she asked me like, are you like depressed or something? And I'm like, not that there's like anything wrong with being depressed, but I was just like, no, like why do you perceive it that way? Like I think I'm just naturally this deep thinker, and some people just really aren't. And so it was really hard for me to be like, no, I'm just trying to go like deeper within myself and trying to strive for more. And I think that just looks different for different people.
Yeah.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with being someone like my sister who is, living her life and not really thinking that deeply about it. She's just going about her day or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, but then also there's nothing wrong with being the kind of person that is like always looking for more.
Right. Also, there's that, when you're always looking for more, like those people usually like can't just be happy like right then and there. So that's the whole game, is like
there's always a caveat.
Right. That's the whole that's the thing that you want to strive for, is to be able to go searching for things and trying new things, but also be happy just doing it. Be happy with the process. Be happy where you are right now.
I think this all sounds maybe like very complicated. It sounds like we're just like saying one thing and then just saying the opposite thing.
Paradoxes. Contradicting ourselves.
Exactly.
That's what it is, though. A lot of this stuff is like paradoxes. It's like the guy. It's like the stigma that's attached to people who like read a lot of self-help books. Self-help. People usually think, oh, there's something wrong with them. They're trying to fix themselves. Like, you could get stuck in that, just like I was saying before. Like, you could get stuck in being the broken person constantly trying to fix themselves. Or you can see that, like, you're already, like, perfect and fine the way you are, but also, like, you can be better with that, and, like, you should keep striving to make yourself better by doing whatever, whatever's necessary.
And I think that, so, my opinion, I guess, is that sometimes when the people that look at people that do self-help and look broken or whatever, sometimes I feel like that's like a projection.
Well, it is. Anything, everything that every opinion and judgment and statement that we throw out there, it is a projection of what is going on inside of us. And everything we're talking about right now, like, it might not apply to anything in your life, but it's coming out of us because it's real in this moment to us right now. Like, that's what we mean, like, about projections and shit. Yeah,
and I think, I don't know, I was always raised to be, like, pretty open-minded, so that's why I try to look at every scenario and everyone and everything very, like, objectively, and think of it, I try not to judge situations, even though naturally we do judge, but also just being aware of that judgment and thinking, okay, that might not be true. So, like, someone cuts you off in traffic and you want to cuss them out and judge them for the kind of person that they are, stepping back, and you can get, annoyed, but then being like, okay, like, I don't know their life. I don't know what's going on. And just being very, like, accepting, I guess, of everything and everyone and the way that they are.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's really, it's like a constant reminder in a way, but I think that it alleviates so much of the stress from everyday life. That way of being is so exhausting. And I think that being able to like use some mindfulness practices to like go inside instead of trying to go outward with your problems, and just kind of like go inward and see like, okay, why do I look at this situation like that? Why am I feeling this way? Why? Like when you're a kid, you always ask why. And just going back to that, like why? And even like when I met Chris, like he really challenged me on a lot of my previous beliefs. And I guess I wouldn't say I grew up like in a conservative household, but I think we did have some conservative views about certain things, like for example, marijuana. And like I really, really struggled with why I had an issue with it. And
me too.
And he kept asking me why. And then we would go down that. And then he would say, well, why do you believe that? And like, it honestly revealed all of these things that like I didn't realize that I actually believed. And I'm like, wait, no, like I don't actually agree with that. And I think I heard someone say the other day, like when you look at your beliefs, you think you like should ask yourself, is that what I actually believe?
Yeah.
Like, is that coming from within me, or is that coming from something else?
Because a lot of beliefs are also tying back to what we were just talking about before. It's like a story that you told yourself once and that you just stuck with.
Yeah.
We should wrap this up. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, it's getting long. We want to keep them short and sweet. And based off like our conversation today, if you guys have any like questions or any like thoughts on just like what we were talking about and things that maybe we could go deeper into, you can drop them in the comments, or shoot us DMs on Instagram, whatever it is. So yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this little conversation today, and we will see you in the next episode.
Gang.
Peace.